I have a scenario for you. Would you feel more comfortable giving your kid your debit card or the nation's nuclear codes? The fact that you're hesitating that long tells me everything I need to know, baby. Hey, this is 5-Minute Finance, where we boil things down to practical steps you can actually get done to feel great about your money and lighten the load, because life is busy. We got you. I am really excited to talk about a topic that's very near and dear to my own heart today.
Nuclear codes?
Which is the nuclear codes. I own them. Please, FBI, don't come after me. I don't know why Pete Hegseth sent them to me in a Signal chat. No, wait, that's a whole other conversation. All right. So, I mean, that could have happened. That honestly could have happened. I could be sitting on the nuclear codes right now. No, I am sitting on something even more dangerous potentially, which is a teenager with the ability to spend what is ultimately my money. This is very, very frightening. And Mike, your kids are slightly older than mine, just slightly. They're a little bit closer to that go off, launch to college point. And you wanted to talk about how frightening this is and how to make that a little bit less frightening, maybe?
Well, yes and no. What I really want to talk about is how to make sure your kid is equipped when you drop them off at college. Now that they're no longer like in your house. And who knows what trouble they're going to be getting up to on campus. So before that point or at that point, arming them with some good financial information will at least help them, help you maybe. I don't know, help somebody.
And so in just to give an overview of what people are going to get in this episode, you've kind of got like, if you're not sure where to start, you've kind of got a checklist of here are the areas to make sure you've done a little primer on and you know your kid's good to go on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think this would be a good basics, once you drop them off and wave goodbye and as you're pulling away to make sure that they have some experience and knowledge with banking, how to use the checking account, the saving account, credit cards, critical credit card, debit card, how they work, how to have access to them, budgets and spending. What is a good way of keeping track of your money? Financial safety and security, especially in today's age of phishing and scams, making sure you kind of go over that. And then also, if you're not dropping them off, next week, maybe coming up with some areas where you can have them practice doing some of these things while they're in that safer environment, still in your home, like they are at your home, Matt. So those are the things that we're going to talk about today.
All right. That sounds good. And I hope people will hang on through the episode because we have our usual features, including our listener question, which today it's about whether people should attend the U.S. Naval Academy. No, wait, this is it's UTMA. It's a different acronym, and we're going to learn more about what that is and whether you should have one. My answer is yes, I support our sailing men and women. You should too. And hang on for the end for our one thing segment, which is very much related to today's main episode topic. And we'll just tease it as give it a trial run. That is your one thing, light piece of advice, tip, news you can use for the end of the show. All right, let's run down your checklist here. So the way to picture this is, and this is for you to picture, not me, because if I picture myself sending my daughter off to college, I'm going to be a crying hot mess in the middle of this episode. I'm not ready to handle this. I don't even want to talk about it any further. So I want to picture you sending your child off to college. So this is the list of things you want to make sure you've done the basics on before you push them out of a rolling car that has come to a more or less partial stop. Let's start with banking basics.
Banking. So, definitely recommend kids having access to checking account or a saving account where they have some money. And so just banking basics. A lot of this too, Matt, is funny. It's like, as I've been going over these things with my kids over the years, it's funny how much we take for granted. Like, writing a check, like writing checks. How do you write a check?
Don't do that. What? I mean, you might as well learn how to shoe a horse. It's like, yes, if that's going to be your field, do it. But otherwise, it's an anachronism. Don't learn how to write a check. What's wrong with you? Venmo,
Some people
baby.
still use checks. Exactly. Just tap here.
Yes. This segment brought to you by Venmo. Okay. No, I see what you mean, though. So you're suggesting open a joint account. So do I have to actually go out and do that? Or, like a couple of years ago, we talked about this on the show. I opened a Greenlight account and my kids have debit cards. Does that do the trick?
It's just banking in general, like, checking account, saving account. How does money flow? Like you got it. Sometimes you might get a check from grandma, for your birthday. How do we deposit a paper check? Because they might still get one of those from grandma when they're in college. But that's what we're talking about, basics, right? Like, and that's what it comes down to. Take them to, even just taking them to the local branch. Actually, I really recommend using local banks. There's a variety of services. Like sometimes you need a bank check. Sometimes you have to do a wire. And so having a local bank is very helpful. Hey, cool side note, Matt. I had to do a wire the other day for my local bank. And I went to the website first. And then they had this live chat on the website for my local bank. So I clicked on it. And literally, there's a person shows up and they're like, hey, how can we help you today? I was like, I want to do a wire. And they're like, great, fill out this form. And the form pops up on my computer. I have my license, filled out the form. They said, you got it right. And they sent it. And 5 minutes later, I was all done. All video chat.
Now,
it was awesome.
I mean, this is going to sound like a stupid question. This sounds so stupid, but like on a Turing test kind of basis, how positive are you that was a real human and not like an AI avatar?
I'm pretty positive it was a normal human because I think in today's technology, it would be easier to tell the difference. You can still kind of tell when videos are being made by AI, but I get your point. Probably in a couple of years, you wouldn't know.
Amazing. Well,
yeah,
look,
it's incredible.
In a few years, people, if they're catching up to these episodes where the information will still mostly be good, people will be like, wait, he talked to a real human in a video chat, like a caveman. All right.
right, exactly. Depositing paper checks.
So bottom line for me is, and I guess for the viewers out there, if you haven't opened a joint account, if you haven't given your kid a real experience with checking account, savings account, the mechanics of dealing with a bank, even in today's whiz-bang modern world, you need to do that in some form. And they need to have a real taste of it because they're going to have their own accounts pretty soon.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. How things work, just a few basics like that, depositing a check. The other one that comes up, Matt, is like not even just checks, but cash. My kids don't even know what to do with cash. They get like $50. Like, Dad, can you take this cash and just like put it in my card? No one carries around cash anymore either. So
right, it's like when they put out those dollar coins, those Sacagawea coins, and it's like, what am I supposed to do with this? It's like, well, you could take it to a bank and exchange it for real money.
Real money. Okay, that's right.
What about?
Yeah, I just think banking's good. So yeah, and you don't have to open a joint account, but that's an option. You could do joint accounts. There's brokerages, which we're going to talk about later. Sometimes have banking along with the investing, right? So at Fidelity, you can use the Youth app, which I'm a fan of, and that Youth app. You can deposit checks into, it's a brokerage account where you can invest, but also you can use it like a checking account as well. So these things are crossing over, but just having that experience, that's exactly right.
Oh, you want to just hit brokerage accounts right now?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of more advanced investing in brokerages, but this is a show about investing. I'm a big fan of getting the kids involved in learning about what investing is. Knowing, like what we talk about on this show, investing in stocks is buying a little slice of that company. Investing in bonds is lending money to a company. So just having that conversation, and then you can open a brokerage if they're interested. You can open up, at Fidelity or Schwab or other places, a youth account. There are certain age limits. I know at Fidelity, I think it's like 13. You have to be over 13 for the youth account. It's got to be linked to an adult account. But then they can have money in there, and they can, there's some learning experience within the app, of course, which is great. And then they can invest money. They can buy $100 of Disney stock. Be like, hey, I own a piece of Disney, and they can watch it go up and down. And the big benefit there is they get a little bit of knowledge, fine. But they get to watch their $1,000 turn into $800. Like, why is this going down? And that is one of the best experiences that your kid can have before they have access to tens of thousands of dollars.
Right. Right. Actually, I so thought you were going to do they can learn the value of saving by seeing their 1,000 turn into 1,100. No. You went the other way with it. You're right. You're so right about that. All right. Back to basics. Credit cards.
Credit cards. This is obviously a massive one because your kid is now at college and undoubtedly they're going to need to be spending money. And as we just said, they don't know how to spend cash. And they might not have, maybe they got Venmo, but they run out of their $50 pretty quick. So some kind of credit card or debit card is very handy. So there's a couple of ways. This is also credit scores, building the credit history of your child. You can get a secure card or a student card. Those are kind of the starter areas. And trust me, your college student will get inundated with advertisements for credit cards. But just pick one or two and get started and then start teaching how to use that card, not just literally how to use a credit card, which I've gone over with my kids. And that's another funny experience, but also just the basics, like always pay it off. That interest rate is massive, some of those things so that they really get an understanding of how to use a credit card.
You gave some really good advice about this on a full episode a little ways back about, you can put them on your credit card or you can get one of these special ones. And I really loved that. It was too scary for me to contemplate at the time, but I'm getting closer and closer to being ready for this. And it's just, boy, you really do want them to practice before they go with like live ammo and sharpened blades. That's
yeah.
You just talked about the overall amount of money to spend and, the limits. So like, talk to me about that. Cause that's honestly, as a parent, that's the thing that I get, I don't know, invokes the most fear for me, that like the kid is not going to be able to process like, well, here's the amount of money that you have available, and here's how to be cautious without being miserly, and here's how to spend and enjoy it without it creating anxiety for you. Like how do you deal with the budgeting and spending piece of it?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions in that. So I'm just going to touch on the more practical side because there's definitely like a lot of emotional stuff that you sort of want to pay attention to as well. But practically it's, spend less than you make. Like, let's start with that really easy principle. Spend less than you have. And so I'm a big fan of giving kids, at the appropriate age or responsible level, like some of their own money, their own credit card, their own bank account, their own wallet, with $20 in it, and this is now your money. This is how much you have. You got $20. You got $200. You have what's the balance. What does a balance mean? So that. And then if the kid wants to go spend on, some baseballs, or, some candy, or, save up for something, now it's their money. And so you're introducing the budgeting as part of just, you have access to your own money and making sure you can only spend what you have.
There was a really weird psychological demonstration of like, marketing and what's something worth to you and budgeting in my household a few days ago. My 12-year-old came to me and said, Dad, there's a sale on FIFA 25, the soccer game, for the PS5. We have I talk about folding, like we gave it. Anyway, my kid has a PS5. And he said, the sale is amazing. It's $14. It's usually like $80. And I'm like, well, that's suspicious. And he said, can I get this? And I said, this, son, is exactly what your account is for. This is what your money is for. And he said, awesome, great. He goes to his little brother and he says, will you split this with me? And it's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, we're talking about $14. And he's like, and he started with, he said, all right, I'll pay 10, little brother, you pay 4. And the little brother gets swindled into this, which was actually a good deal for everyone. And then it was actually $14.89. So I chipped in the 89 cents. And it's just like, this is why companies will put things like, oh, it costs $2.99. It costs $14.99. It's like, the psychology of it is like, this is worth it to him for $10. Or maybe it would have been worth it to him for $14. But he's like, I'm going to get every last ounce out of this. It's like, how about you chip in $4? Okay, how about $4.50?
He's going to go far.
Oh, he's going to go so much farther than I have.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
So budgeting, spending, understanding, this is your money. and just walk them through thinking about like, well, you want this thing. How badly do you want it? Is it something you need to have versus something you want to have? And, what other things do you need your money for later? What are the trade-offs?
That's right. Yeah, let's pause on that for just one sec, because that needs versus wants, I think, is really great. And also, when you can find opportunities to reflect on that with your kid with their own money. So they bought something, and I'll often say, an hour later, a day later, 2 weeks later, oh, how was that experience? You're like, did it turn out that was like a great way of using your money? And then they're like, yeah, it was. It's like, fantastic. Then that's great. Or like, yeah, it was all right. I think that shows a lot too, that reflection, and to help them with that kind of need versus want.
Well, and I think, the other thing is that I talked before about the anxiety of this for me. And I think it can be anxiety producing for kids as well.
Yep.
But it strikes me that everything we know about anxiety, and this is a generation, like the viewers and listeners we're talking to, your kids are part of the anxious generation. They are. Like the rates of anxiety among our kids so much higher than they were for previous generations. And everything we know from psychology is that the only way to deal with that is to extinguish it, to kind of like expose yourself to the anxiety provoking stimulus and to deal with it. And so the idea of doing it in a sandbox is pretty attractive to me. I know you touched on before, some of the more advanced stuff like a brokerage account. Anything else you want to hit? Like that was the checklist right there. We hit it all. And so just to review: banking basics, credit card basics, budgeting and spending, financial safety, and making sure that along the way you're letting kids, screw up a little bit. What about the more advanced stuff?
Yeah, we talked just very quickly, list, the brokerage account, learn investing, Roth IRAs for kids. We have talked about that before. So highly recommend Roth IRAs, especially when you get to the college level, college age students, Roth IRAs. Tax basics. Kids will learn this pretty quick. It's a great thing while you're at home. It's like, oh, wait, you make how much money? And then after tax, way less money. Wait, what's that all about? So some tax basics, and then student discounts, and there's a lot of student stuff out there. So when it comes to credit cards and other things, there are a lot of student discounts. So talking about those, but I think that's a great area to be aware of the context, right? Like when are you the product of those student discounts? So those are some advanced areas if you've already tackled the basics.
And if you want more resources on those, like you said, we've covered Roth IRAs for kids, previous episodes. That's easily Googleable, easily findable. Brokerage accounts you touched on. So more resources on your website. Speaking of which, it is time for our listener question. And as always, clients of Mike, you ask listener questions all the time. Everyone else, we do have a limited ability to get one of these in per episode. So we're working our way through the queue right now. And if you have one, get into the queue by emailing pod@mortonfa.com. Today's question is, I want to save some money for kid. Should I use an UTMA, which actually does stand for Uniform Transfers to Minors Act, not one of the other jokes.
How did you know that?
I know things.
Did you just look that up?
I know things about finance. Let me tell you something, okay? This is my hidden super. Okay, so what the hell is the Uniform Transfers to Minors Act?
Uniform Transfer to Minors Act.
My knowledge is so like an inch deep.
And ended there. It reminds me of your whole name, like government naming. This is just named after the Transfer to Minors Act. The UTMA account. The UTMA. Can we come up with like a better name for this?
Wasn't that the name of one of the orcs in Lord of the Rings? This is UTMA and this is Grog.
That's right. So these accounts are, as the name implies, money that for your kid. So it can be a great idea. The UTMA account, or UGMA account is a previous version, is an account that is owned by your child. So it's their money, but you're the trustee on the account until they turn age 18 or 21, which depends on which state you live in. In Massachusetts, I think it's 18. So if you have money in an account, you can open up one of these accounts for your child. You put your name as the trustee and owner, and and the beneficiary is your child, and you're giving money to the child. So you put $1,000, you open this account, and then at your local bank or brokerage, and then you put $1,000 into it. It is now your child's money, but you're the trustee, so you make all the decisions with how to use it until they turn age 18. The upside is it can be great. You can give money to your child, and then you can use it for them for summer camps, or you can just invest it and have it grow, no problem. The downside can be when they turn 18, it's entirely their money. So by definition, like if you put $10,000 in there when they turn 18, you have to transfer it, or they transfer it to their own account. That's 100% their name, and now it's their $10,000. So you can do it that way, but often I will suggest, people come to me and say, hey, I want to start putting some money aside for, high school graduation or a college graduation gift or a down payment to help them out. Like I just want to have, $5,000 or $10,000, just start now with $100 a month. That'll kind of grow, when they're older. And in that case, I might suggest just opening an account in your own name and just doing that. And you can just have it earmarked for them rather than specifically using the UTMA account.
Because you could accomplish much the same thing of transferring your assets to your kid by just teaching them how to assassinate you. So on that note, why don't we get to our closing? One thing segment always being something that may be tangentially related to the main topic, may not, may just be a little observation about how to hack your way more easily through life. And you have a practical piece of advice here. Give it a trial run. What do you mean?
Give it a trial run. So we've talked about a number of things today, and we've already mentioned this really, right, in the episode, but pick something financially related where you can have your child go out and try it. And I'll give you 2 examples from my own life. One is, I've already said, the credit card. So I handed them a card and said, you go buy the thing. So they have to go to the front desk. They got to talk to the person. They've got to swipe the credit card, and kind of go through that transaction, which is just a great learning experience. My other story is when the kids were much younger, they would always ask me, we'd go to, flea markets or something like that. And they'd say like, oh, can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have this? The snow cone, the fried dough, the, t-shirt, the little toy, like, this, because it was all not their money. Like money really wasn't a concept. It was like, can I just have this thing? And so I got really annoyed that they just kept asking me, can I have this? Can I have this? So the next time we went to a market, I gave them each like $10. And I said, this is now your $10. You can spend it on whatever you want here, but that's it. That's what you get. And that really worked well, except it changed the question, Matt, from can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have this? To how much is this? How much is this? How much is this? How much money would I have left? So it really changed the question.
Yeah. And that created questions for you, like to their math teachers, like, what the hell are you doing? Come on.
Exactly.
Why can't navigate this? It reminds me of something that happened to one of my kids several years back, where it was their first experience going with a couple of friends alone, flying solo in town, going to a restaurant and ordering takeout. And they screwed it up. They didn't know how to get noticed by like the staff. And so they stood there for a long time. Then they waited for a long time for the food. They didn't think to get cutlery. And so there was a lot of like eating soup with fingers and stuff that happened. Like there were a lot of controlled disasters. It was not a good experience, which means it was a great experience, right?
Yeah.
It was a really, really valuable experience. And I think of that with these kinds of examples, with use your own money, go, have your experience is, like this happened to me when I was growing up in Manhattan. I had to navigate around the city on my own all the time. I got on the wrong line and I ended up, this was like late 80s, early 90s, New York City. And I ended up in a not great part of town. And, again, this is, thankfully I didn't die. But the important thing is you have to have these like little minor screw ups, with a safety net under you, or you won't have these things stick in your mind. So like, I think the experience of, go to the mall, you've got to navigate a smoothie. Oh, wait, you didn't get napkins and now you got, you'll remember next time, like, oh, you didn't get cutlery? Yeah, soup on fingers is delicious. So there you go.
And I'll leave you with this too, that because you mentioned the financial piece and being anxious, around finances. And you really want kids to be confident with understanding finance and understanding money, at least all these basics that we've talked about today. And you really want to give them that confidence. So use the time before you are waving goodbye at college as you drop them off to build their confidence by little things, little trial runs, little lessons, little things here and there, which will absolutely make them very successful when it comes to managing their money.
Right. Including letting them screw up in little tiny, memorable soup on fingers ways. All right. For Mike Morton, I'm Matt Robison. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks for joining us on Financial Life Planning. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to and rate the podcast on Apple iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. It makes a massive difference. If you have a comment or question, please email me, mike@mortonfa.com. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. This recording is for informational purposes only and should not be considered for investment advice. Opinions expressed are as of the date of recording. Such opinions are subject to change. I cannot guarantee the accuracy or completeness of the data presented here.